So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And SerpentZA doesn't understand America. He probably doesn't really understand China, and he probably doesn't understand most countries, or maybe the world. And that's probably, sounds kind of like arrogant of me or something, but I get into it in a moment. So, of course, I am Earthling, yada, yada, yada. I have a couple degrees. I got a scholarship, a full tuition scholarship a long time ago to get some of those. I have lost almost 100 pounds from my heaviest and kept it off. I have quit smoking. I'm an ex-army reservist, and I take care of my uncle with dementia. So that's it for me. So, I saw that a number of people had come to look at my SerpentZA, what I thought about his coverage of China. So I figured, maybe there's something going on with him. I realize it's probably just to do with the Asian violence, maybe, since that is trending in the news right now. But I did go looking at Winston. I don't remember if I know his last name. It's not like he says it all the time. At Winston's channel to see what might be there before I settled on the fact that it was the Asian violence. And I saw one of these videos, clickbaity videos, titles, Americans whine too bloody much, I think. It's something like that. But it essentially just went into, there was a sprinkling of Americans think that they have things bad, but they don't really. I have lived in South Africa, and I have lived in China, and you guys don't know what you're talking about when it comes to bad, really. And that's fair. I mean, that's fair. The whine too bloody much, it's meant to be clickbaity, but he up to the very end, he was like, it upsets me that Americans whine so much. The thing is, he recounted a story about an instant where he was whining and why he stopped. And it was basically he had flat feet. He was at a camp, and he was complaining to everybody about the pain resulting from these flat feet. I don't know if it was just in his back, it was in his knees, I think it was. Anyway, he got over it. But in the instant where he was complaining to everybody, one of the counselors, I guess one of the adults there, had a heart attack and died. They were supposed to be doing a lot of activity, and I guess that's when heart attacks happen. He himself was supposed to be walking up these flights of stairs. Maybe the counselor was involved in something similar, and that would have triggered a heart attack. And seeing someone die in front of him made him stop whining about his flat feet and the pain that was associated with it. But he gets that, but I don't think that he appreciates the change, or how the change occurred. It's because something astounding, amazing, completely off of his radar happened, and it temporarily, maybe, permanently, no. Winston whines. He whines about certain things. He complains about certain things. Actually, he complains about the fact that Americans complain. That's the whole point of his video anyway. So isn't that kind of weird? I remember there was a movie that I saw a long time ago with a guy who was a violent white supremacist. And the guy went to jail, and a black guy protected him. So he decided, that changed his point of view. He was no longer a violent white supremacist. He was a violent anti-white supremacist. So he was still violent anyway. So of course he dies in the end of the movie. So Winston maybe isn't whining about himself anymore. He's whining about other people whining. So I think That is kind of hilarious, don't you think? It's not that he gave up on whining, it's just he changed what he would whine about. But anyway, part of what Winston subsequently began to discuss was, the same kind of thing, similar to what he talks about with respect to China, in terms of how well he knows China. So he said, like, he's been told by many Americans that he has visited more states in the U.S. than many of them have. And he feels as a result of that, as a result of, driving through, riding through, stopping for a couple of days in different areas all across the U.S., that he has gotten a grasp of what the U.S. is like and how it works and everything else. And basically everybody gets along. That's what, his conclusion is. And things are pretty great in America. Now, I'm not doubting that things are pretty decent in America in terms of, the big numbers that are out there, life expectancy, access to food, the ability to just basically live at a higher standard of living with respect to many things, not everything, than many other countries. And yeah, I agree. That is true. The problem is, of course, as I would have commented on Winston's video, is that yeah, I'm sure when you're driving through, you're traveling through, or you're just going around America, everybody looks like they get along. The problem comes in, of course, when it's time to get a job. Problem comes in when it's time to get a loan, to buy a house, if you want to make real friends, not superficial acquaintances, if you want to, date who you want to date, who you're able to date, who you might be able to get married to, their actual interest in reciprocating your feelings. When it comes to people's assumptions about you, sometimes just in passing, sometimes, just what people think they know about you. So basically, everything or most things that somebody who's passing through town would never have to do, that's when the cracks appear with respect to the US. Anything important, buying a house, making friends, getting married, dating, having kids, your life expectancy, any of those big things, that's when, people maybe don't get along, things don't work as smoothly, for example. When you have to deal with law enforcement, those instances. So it's to me, I understand Winston's point. It's really a blessing to be able to travel as much as he does and see all of these different places, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in China, whether it's in the US, wherever it is, it's great. But I think the big problem comes in when you think that you have a grasp on places and how they work based on your temporary travels and stays in different areas. I think it was on The Real World where, that they say when people stop being nice and they start getting real, the real world. Like the first day of The Real World was never, everybody was happy and, hey, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. After about 2 weeks, 2 weeks feels like eternity. 2 weeks feels like you've been here forever. 2 weeks is time when people start getting real, and you can't spend 2 weeks in most locations in the world. You would just, what would you, we don't have enough time to do that. So I think it's unfortunate that Winston thinks that he understands China because he's traveled all over it, that he understands the US because he's traveled all over it, and he's seeing people at parks playing, and yeah, I think that that really is kind of sad, honestly. And I remember there's one part where he was saying that, I know a lot of you are going to think that this is a honeymoon period, but I assure you, there's no honeymoon period. And then he goes into a thing where he's like, well, I grew up with Sunday morning cartoons, just like Americans would watch. And, the car culture, everybody loves cars and all of this other stuff. So I really am pretty familiar with America. I'm pretty, familiar with it. I probably already said that. And I'm like, yeah, Winston, no, probably not. You're probably very superficially familiar with America. I would say ultimately Winston will come to understand America a lot more, perhaps through his child. That might help him to understand America better. As of right now, and especially being a member of the majority, racially speaking, when he goes to get a loan, people are just going to hear maybe a little accent or something. But yeah, when he goes to get a job, when he goes to, well, he's already married, when he deals with law enforcement, when he deals with a lot of people, he will be dealing as a member of the majority. When his wife deals with law enforcement, when she tries to get a job, if she tries to get a loan on her own, if she tries to make friends, real friends, if she tries to do any of these real meaningful things, and actually to hear her speak, it sounds, he asked her, what do you miss about China? Everything was her answer. She misses everything. The food, the people, her job, her family, just everything. But for him, I don't know. I would like to say I wish him the best, but when people are happy, I don't know that they really learn anything. It's kind of like what he was saying with respect to whining about his flat feet and the pain that's associated with it. And then somebody died. He learned something, right? He learned something. Happy people don't tend to be open to understanding new things. So I feel that it's probably better to understand how the world works than necessarily just to be doped up and happy. So maybe I wish him understanding, which might not always, or even most of the time, be about being happy. But certainly I feel if he's open to it, he may definitely learn more about America through his child. And it's funny that maybe his wife is always with him, that she has not experienced any of this anti-Asian sentiment, because that's what a lot of Asians have experienced. I don't know what the percentage is. Maybe I should go looking for a poll or something. But all in all, I don't see that Winston's going to be able to see that as a member of the Caucasian race. That is going to be hard for him to see what non-Caucasians experience in the world, in America, in China, anything like, well, no. I mean, he has an idea. He talks about racism in China. I guess he hasn't gotten to the racism in America yet. Or, yeah, I think that's it. That might be part of it. That he's not around the people who have to deal with a lot of it. Yeah. If you're around a lot of low income people who can't get loans, who can't get jobs, who can't get good education, good schooling, good whatever else, yeah, you might understand more. I know for myself, I thought I understood certain things, and then I went to, juvenile detention centers, and I spoke to some of the people there about their lives, and I think it opened my eyes. and squash some of my ridiculous thinking. Anyway, that's it for me. Feel free to like, subscribe, dislike, ignore any of the things that people do on YouTube, keeping in mind what you would like for yourself if this were your YouTube content. Have a good one. Peace.